known for close to 2 decades now. And I'm excited to have this conversation because we just caught up recently. Now, let me say this. If you haven't already done the business wealth quiz, business growth quiz, take the business growth quiz as soon as you can, because it will highlight to you which area of your business may be falling short and you need to focus on it now to continue growing your business. So remember, go to businessgrowthquiz.me, businessgrowthquiz.me, and you can take that quiz for free to make sure you stay on track to the success you want to create on business. So I'm back here with my good friend Mark. Before I bring Mark up here, welcome Mark, by the way. Hello, how are you doing?
Hey Mac, I'm great. I've been looking forward to this all week. Really glad to be on the show.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. And for those who don't know Mark, and I know some of my audience, you already know Mark. Those who don't know Mark, he is a #1 New York Times bestseller with his book, The Laptop Millionaire. I remember when he launched that book many years ago, and he has had the pleasure to teach people in over 116 countries. And in terms of his clients, over 52,000 in over 116 countries. So he's been making waves and helping people develop themselves, develop their business, and really have a more fulfilling life. And we're going to be talking more about that. He's not the author of just one book, several books. And so it's exciting to talk to someone who's not just a coach, not just an entrepreneur, not just an investor, but all of that and much, much more. And a father, and as well as an animal lover. So, Mark, listen, let me get straight into this and say, Mark, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. How did it all get started?
Sure. Well, growing up, my idea was I went to study business management. Mm-hmm. And my idea was that I would become an employee, a manager of some business. That was the dream growing up. But I knew for sure what I didn't want to be, and I didn't want to end up like my father or many people that I'd seen in my family, which was struggling financially and not having money and all these kinds of things. So my idea from a young age was, when I grow up, I'm going to get rich. Mm-hmm. And I ended up one day at the Yes Group in London, which is an organization that you know very well. That they
That's where we met, yeah, originally, yeah.
And they organize these monthly events. And one day, actually exactly 20 years ago, in 2003, I attended a Yes Group meeting. There were about 500 people in the audience, and Peter Sage was speaking at that event. And he came in. The international speaker, Peter Sage, and he talked for about 90 minutes about all the reasons why somebody should become an entrepreneur. Because it's for multiple streams of income, because you have more control over your life, because you can have more of an impact, all of these kinds of reasons. And I decided at that point, I was about 22 years old. I said, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become an entrepreneur. And I didn't really have an idea of how to do it. And at the time, I was working in telesales. I was earning about £750 a month. I was really struggling. I had £8,000 in debt.
Wow.
I had 8 credit cards. and I decided, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And it took about, it took about a year. And I went to my bosses and I said, look, I know I'm not making any sales in this telesales job, but double my salary or I quit. And I said, okay. They said, okay, well, give us a couple of months. We'll think about it. 2 months went by and they said, okay, Mark, you're fired.
Just like that, fired.
They found somebody else. I made only one sale in 14 months. And I really struggled over the next 6 months. I got kicked out of my apartment. I hadn't paid the rent in a number of months. And one day I decided, you know what? I've been going to these events. I've been reading all these personal development books. Maybe it's time to actually do the work, to actually do the exercises that people like Tony Robbins and many others talk about. T. as well was an influence at the time. And I picked up my journal and a pencil, and I wrote down 100 reasons why I must make £2,000. And it was a great exercise, because it's when you write down black on white 100 reasons why you must make a certain amount, what you're forcing your brain to do is to recondition itself. Any limiting beliefs that I had, and I had many limiting beliefs about money, about business, about rich people, wealthy people, and all these kinds of things. When I had 100 reasons why it's good to make money, because I can help my sisters, I can help my mother, I can help people, I can buy food, all of these different reasons that I had listed down. It reconditioned my brain to go, wait, money is good. I have 100 reasons why money is good. So any negative beliefs about why money is bad, suddenly they started, at least fraying at the edges and collapsing, many of them collapsing by doing that exercise. And then I wrote down 100 ways how. I brainstormed 100 ways how to make £2,000.
Wow.
And again, I was forcing my brain. I didn't know this at the time, but this exercise was forcing my brain to come up with new. And it was a new way of thinking. It was as if that a part of my brain was dormant. That entrepreneurial, creative part of my brain was dormant, and that exercise put it back in functioning order. One of the ideas, maybe the idea number 63 on that list, was to write a book. And then around 90th idea to 93rd idea, I remembered something that I'd heard at an event. I was sitting next to a gentleman called Francis. He was from Yorkshire. And Francis told me that he was selling an ebook on the internet on bronchitis, because he had bronchitis for more than 20 years. And he figured out a natural way to clear his bronchitis. He wrote about it, put it on the internet. He was making £2,000 a month. He was making $3,000 or whatever it was, something along those lines. And at the time when Francis had told me that, I still had that mindset of an employee. I thought, maybe Francis can give me a job, a higher job. Maybe I can earn, £1,200 a month instead of $750. But now I was thinking in this more entrepreneurial way, and I called Francis up. I went to one of these payphones. I didn't have a mobile phone, and so I went to a payphone. I called him up. I said, Francis, I was sitting next to you at the event. You told me about selling an ebook online, making $2,000, $3,000 a month. I will work for you for free if you mentor me about how to do that. I have a feeling I could write something up, and I have a feeling this could work for me. But this idea did not really occur to me until I'd written at least 90 or 93 ways how in my journal. Something brain before this happened. And still to this day, to my coaching clients, I've had 17,000 people come to my events. I've coached one-on-one over 600 people over the last 2 decades. And I give them that exercise. In fact, well, I'll tell you what happened. I did those exercises. I called Francis up. I also identified 44 limiting beliefs that I had about money and about myself. And I spent a few days eliminating, with neuro-linguistic programming, NLP techniques, like scrambling technique and many others. I collapsed every single one of those 44 limiting beliefs about money. Things, I grew up in Greece. My father is half Cypriot, and things like the only way to get rich is to bribe the government, or rich people are greedy, evil, exploitative, but we are good people. That is why we don't have any money, right? Or even things a bit more damaging, such as the reason why I don't have any money is because I have you 3 kids, things like that. Right. So I have work to do, and there's another 41 limiting beliefs like that. So those were the 3 main exercises I did. I called Francis up. He said, you don't have to work for me for free, although I appreciate the offer. It's very simple. Here's 4 steps. Find a target market, a group of people that have a problem. Find the solution for them, put together the solution. Maybe you can write it up in a PDF, like here's the solution, here's where I found the solution. Number 3, you have to create a website that talks about the solution for that target market. Okay. And 4, you got to figure out how to drive traffic to that website that talks about the solution for that specific target market.
Mm.
Even though I'd never been an entrepreneur before, I could wrap my head around this simple 4-step process. And the business was very simple. Traffic would come onto a web page. They would read the sales letter, click on the link to buy this downloadable PDF, this ebook. And as soon as they clicked and paid, automatically the payment would trigger that the second page opens up where they can download the book.
Right, right.
And so for the next few, it took 4 weeks. It took me 2 weeks to write the ebook. I was going to a local internet cafe and working like 15 hours a day, 16 hours a day, writing the ebook. I then, I started creating a website. I wrote the sales copy. I couldn't do the website. I wasn't very good at. I tried to teach myself how to write HTML code. Didn't work out. So I found a web designer, and I said to him, "Attila, I will pay you after this website starts making money."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in total, it cost me about £300 to start that business.
Yeah.
And I had 8 credit cards, like I said, and I was maxing out one credit card after the other, just to stay in the game. And I launched that website, and the first day it made 0 sales, but the second day I made my first sale at $67. The third day I made 2 sales at $67. By the end of the week, I was making 5 sales a day.
Oh, wow.
And I was using Google AdWords. It was now May 2004. I was using Google AdWords to drive traffic to the website. I was spending $5 or maybe $10 a day, like I said, with my credit cards, $5 a day, and bringing in on average 5 sales a day. So and this was within 4 weeks of that phone call with Francis.
And that's amazing story, because what you just described there, that, you know, they say necessity is the mother of invention. So you went through the exercises, you realized you were limiting yourself, you asked for help from somebody, they showed you the path, you followed their system, and it worked for you. Now you're on your entrepreneurial way. And I know you've created many businesses since then, but I want to talk about some of the businesses you're involved with now. Then I want to talk about the love frequency of money, because you have been able to, you know, from a place of debt, from a place of being kicked out of your flat, from a place of I've got no money now, you've managed to change that and create, you know, what the successes you've created. So what kind of businesses are you involved with now, just for our audience's sake?
Yes. So for the last 5.5 years, I've been the managing director and vice chairman of a healthcare company. I don't want to talk too much about that industry because it's a little bit sensitive at the moment.
Sure. Yeah.
Until we get our funding through.
Sure.
But so I've been involved in this, and it has to do with pain management and various therapies that will come onto the market. So that's been the mainstay over the last few years, but also a bit of real estate, some software development. But to tell you a little bit about what happened next in that journey, just to finish up what I was saying, is that when I started selling those books and ebooks online, within the first 2 years, I did $2 million in sales of that. Then launched a seminar company and did another $10 million from doing this. And, you know, people often think, oh, it was the strategy or it was the industry, what have you. And I have to remind them that it started out with transforming the mindset. People think, oh, it's only the actions that I take, but it has to go hand in hand with with adopting the right mindset and even modeling the way that wealthy people, rich people, successful people think and say, etc. But to go back to your question about what I'm involved in at the moment.
No, I think you've answered that, right?
Yeah.
So, I think you've answered it.
Yeah, it's sensitive because I don't want to let the cat out just yet. But I'll say this: for many years, my business was doing about $1 million a year, and I asked the universe, Mac. I asked what would it take to have a business that does 10 million, 100 million a year? And that's a dangerous thing to ask. Do you really want this? Are you serious about this? Because if you want to have that kind of leap, you need to become a completely different type of entrepreneur.
Mm.
And any issue that might block that level of success, well, is going to have to come up, and you're going to have to clear whatever else is in your energy field or your mind patterns that might limit or restrict that kind of, that what I'm trying to say is that you might experience crisis in your life when you go from this level to the next level. And it's fascinating. A lot of people think, oh, why am I being punished like this? Why is this such a struggle? It's actually, the struggle is actually serving you to come face to face with whatever limitations you had before that you haven't dealt with, in break through to the next level. And I've seen this many times with entrepreneurs who are about to break through to that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Well put. For all of us entrepreneurs, there will be times when you say, I want to move to the next level, and then the challenges, the obstacles, the crisis, all the things are going to hit at the same time. And I've been through that many, many times, and I'll continue to do it as businesses grow. That's how it is. Now, let's talk about the love frequency of money, Mark. What do you mean by that, first of all, before we go furthermore, so people can get their head around, because there's some powerful words there. There's three powerful words there. One is love, one is frequency, and one is money. Now, put them all together, it's like, this is a powerful thing you're about to share with us. Go ahead, Mark.
Sure. So, because of what I experienced in my childhood, my father got fired in 1990. He was a foreign correspondent in Greece as a journalist, and we really struggled. The house was put up on auction. We had many years of financial struggle in our family. And that really marked me. And that was part of the reason why I was so determined when I was growing up. I would, figure out how to become wealthy, how to become successful, etc. But also it created this determination in me of, I want to learn about the wealthy. I want to study what it takes to become successful and share it with other people. This is why I created inspired seminars and we did all these events around the world to share these kinds of insights. And very, very recently, in fact, in the last couple of years, I kept coming back to the same idea that the entrepreneurs that I was coming across, the wealthy people that I was coming across that were the most successful without drama, without crisis, and where their success was sustainable, were people who were aligned with this idea of the love frequency of money. So a couple of things about this first. Money and love operate on a very similar bandwidth, on a very similar frequency. So, for example, how you experience love in your childhood can determine to a large extent how you experience the receiving of money in your adult life. For example, if love was withheld, or you had love and then you lost it somehow, maybe love was conditional in your family, or there was the loss of a parent, or a parent, you had to be sent away to a boarding school or something like this. Love was there, stability was there, and then it was lost. My parents separated when I was 6 years old, and apparently created in my mind pattern the idea that love and abundance can be there, and then suddenly from one day to the next it can go. And I've seen so for example, people who've had that experience in their life, in their childhood, when they grow up, they might make a lot of money, then lose it, make a lot of money again, lose it again. There's that pattern because of that experience in their early childhood. Or if a parent is a narcissist, for example, that they've never given you praise or support or recognition, then you might go through your life trying to please people or to gain that approval. And the point I'm making more generally is that how you received love in your childhood For example, another example is whether you were hugged as a child or not. That can have a huge effect
Oh,
on
really?
whether you feel you're deserving of love. And if you feel you're deserving of love, you feel you're deserving of good things, and money being one of those good things. So love and money are actually linked to a great extent, on a psychological and in a very deep-rooted manner. So that's the first aspect of the love frequency of money. And again, this links to the idea of how worthy do we feel we are? How deserving do we feel we are? If we grew up with the absence of love, or love was withdrawn, or love was lost, or love was conditional, we might grow up feeling not good enough, and therefore we feel like we don't deserve things in some way. We might even feel shame or guilt, which we know that one of the key things to become really wealthy is the absence of feelings of guilt and shame, because those actually affect our power to attract wealth into our life. And so if we feel that we are loved, we feel that we are therefore worthy, we feel that we are deserving of good things coming into our life.
Right.
Another aspect of this love frequency of money is quite simply doing what you love. Now, there's an example that I give about this where I talk about Richard Branson and I talk about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, who's now I think about 94 years old, and in his speeches, in his talks, when he's asked about why is he so successful, well, what does it mean to him about making so much money? And to him, it's not about money necessarily. It's this. He says, I go to the office every day, and it's like I'm Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel. I love what I do. I have my team of 16 or 17 collaborators. I love what I do. I'm painting this masterpiece. That's what Berkshire Hathaway is to me. He's in his element. He's digging what he's doing. He's loving what he's doing. He's in that frequency of doing what he loves and loving what he's doing. Now, Richard Branson, who's another entrepreneur that I model, and I like his energy about it. He said two things that I found interesting. One is that he grew up with fierce love from his family. So he always knew that there was that love behind him, supporting him. Even if he failed, who cares? Because he's got that backing behind him. Not many people have that loving support from their family. That's one thing. But the other thing that he says is that this might sound a little bit, high-browed or highfalutin or whatever word he used. He said, but for me, I love what I do. I love creating businesses because it's like I'm drawing a painting.
Okay.
I write down in my journal exactly the details of what it's going to look like, how it's going to work, what it's going to do. And that's what he does. He works that way. He brainstorms it and designs it in his journal. And he says it's like he's painting a painting. And I found that interesting that those two people, Richard Branson and Warren Buffett, talk about their work as if they are artists that just love what they do and they're creating a masterpiece.
Wow.
I recently got to be on board of the cruise ship, The World. I had a meeting with Dr. John DeMartini. He lives on this luxury cruise ship, The World. There's 160 cabins on there. And on there, there's basically 100 families living on there, 100 wealthy,
really?
Including 16 billionaires.
Okay.
And I was on board of that ship, and I had a lovely tour of the ship. And I asked him, what is it like living with these 16 billionaires? Are they like aliens, or like very different? And he said, no, they're just like you and me. Just they got really, really good at one thing. That's the only difference. They got really, really focused and fixated and really good at one specific thing. That's how they became billionaires. And of course, they became really good at one thing because they loved that specific thing, whether it was in medicine or engineering or whatever else, finance. So that's another aspect of the love frequency of money.
Wow.
Do what you love and love what you do. I am a student, Mac, of spiritual teachings about money. And I love learning from people who channel information, who've channeled information from spiritual sources, who connect to who connect to a spiritual level of information, let's say.
So I love what you're saying. It makes a lot of sense. So when you say the word frequency, describe to people what you mean by that. I mean, I know what it is. You know, just imagine a radio, old radio tuner. You turn it onto, if you find the right station, now you've got, otherwise it's nothing. So when you talk about frequency, it's the same. And when you talk about channeling, how does one tune into the frequency of that money so they can get themselves out of debt or improve their lifestyle or create the money they want to create, the lifestyle for their family? How do you tune into that?
Such a great question, Mac. So there's a vibrational scale. David Hawkins talks about it in his book, Power versus Force. And he explains that us as humans, our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, each thought, each feeling vibrates at a specific frequency. So for example, anger, guilt, shame, feelings of being not good enough. That might, and let's say the scale is from 0 to 700 or 0 to 1,000. Those lower frequencies vibrate at a frequency of 20, 30, maybe 50, maybe about 100 for anger. Whereas the frequency of love and joy, those they calibrated when they tested this through muscle testing. They calibrated at a frequency of 500, 540. The frequency of peace is at 600. And what these very spiritual people teach us is that when you are operating at a frequency of 500 or 500 and above, that's the frequency of love, that acts like a magnet for more good things to come into your life at a frequency of love, gratitude, and joy. Now, questions, how do you tune into this?
Yeah.
How do you tune into this? Well, there's a couple of tricks for it. One trick that I love to use is what Abraham Hicks talked about. They call it the rampage of appreciation. You take your journal and you write down anything that you appreciate right now. I appreciate clothes. I appreciate this desk. I appreciate these books that I have. I appreciate the food. I appreciate the beautiful weather we've been having. I appreciate my wife, my kids. It's a rampage of appreciation. Just write for half an hour all the things that you appreciate and that you're grateful for. That's strategy. I mean, I could go on for quite a while about all the different techniques and strategies to do this, but the best thing, the most important thing, is to tune into that love frequency of money. And here's how it works. And this is, I guess, my key message is this. As an entrepreneur, I've tried so many times I've come up with a business idea. It sounds good. It's logical. And I go for it. But I go for it because it makes sense in my head rather than it being something I'm passionate about or I feel it in my heart. I'd love to do this.
Right.
So what I'm getting at is this. The best way to tune into that frequency, to attract money from that love frequency of money, is to figure out what is that group of people that you care about, that you love, that you really, really want to serve. This is how I set up my seminar company. That literally my clients, my seminar attendees, to me were like my extended family. I loved being around them. I loved serving them. I loved bringing new information to them. I loved taking care of them. And because of that, I would work 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day to do this, to create events for them. So the point I'm making is find a niche, find a group of people. Is it people who suffer from diabetes? Is it people who suffer from arthritis? Is it people who want to grow their business and they're not quite sure how? Is it people who want to be real estate investors? Is it lawyers? What is that group of people that you really, really care about so much that you want to provide a solution for, that you want to give value to? That, to me, if you operate from that perspective, what is that group of people I want to serve? What is their problem? And now let me figure out a solution for them.
Yeah.
that is when you're the most inspired. That's when you can create the most amount of value. John DeMartini says that find a mission, be on a mission. That is when you express most of your value and you create the most amount of value for other people, when you are on a mission. And they did this study where the 100 fastest growing companies in America, what they had in common is that each one of them, or the majority of them anyway, had a massive transformational purpose, an MTP, a transformational purpose. They were doing this, they were building that business because they were coming from their heart. They genuinely wanted to help a specific target market or add value to a specific target market. That made their companies grow faster than anything else. Instead of coming from the head, see what really inspires you. And recently I came across this quote about how, what is our purpose? Because our purpose might change day to day or by month. It is whatever brings us joy in whatever makes us feel joyful right now, whatever work we would be joyful and excited about right now, that is our purpose. Awesome. So I like that mindset. I like that approach about this, because it might change in a year or two. You might be excited and passionate about it.
Yeah, I get it. Whatever gives you joy in that moment. All right, so I love that. So listen, for those who want to get in touch with you, maybe learn more, I want to come back to you in a moment so you can tell us how to do that. And just to say, I want to say you are tuned in to the Business and Wealth Show. Thank you for listening. I'm going to go to Mark in a moment. But remember to like, share, follow, subscribe, whichever channel you're on. And also make some comments here as well so that we can pick up what you got out of it and what questions you had. Just ask the question so that we can see what you are getting out of this. Mark, for those who want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
To be honest, I'm not sure at the moment, because I was an international speaker for many years, and I want to share this message about the love frequency of money. I might write a book about it in due course, books about it, but I don't have any real online presence for the last few years because I'm doing this project in the healthcare industry.
That's right.
And I mean, for the time being, I would just say Google my name, Mark Anastasi, or check out my books on Amazon. And yeah, I might have a presence online in the near future, but it might. Just Google Mark Anastasi, and maybe one of my websites might come up. Oh, I'll tell you something that I am doing. Wealthmagnetics.com. Wealthmagnetics.com will be an online quiz to test how magnetic you are to money. How that would be actually a good idea. Wealthmagnetics.com, that might be a good idea. Yeah.
So Wealthmagnetics,
plural.
Magnetics.com. Excellent. Perfect. We'll make sure we add it to the footnote here. Mark, I want to say thank you so much for jumping in. And I know we were just having a catch up and a conversation. I thought, look, you've got some amazing stuff that our audience needs to know about the love frequency of money. So thank you for jumping on and really adding value and making a difference here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mac. Thank you for your time, and thank you to your audience.
You're most welcome. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you make some comments here so we know what you got out of it, so we can bring you more awesome experts just like Mark Anastasi. Take care. Until we speak again, much love. God bless. Bye for now.